Very few visionary minds changed the course of history like Henry Ford did. By pioneering new technologies and unleashing the power of combustion, steel, and electricity in the car sector, Ford started a revolution that impacted not only machines, but most of all, people. Raised in a farm, he built his way to the top, one invention after the other. His secret? Trying and failing over and over again. Because, in his own words, there is no disgrace in honest failure. There's disgrace in fearing to fail. His story begins in 1863 in Springwells Township, Wayne County, in the newborn state of Michigan, at a time where Lincoln's America was shaken by the Civil War. His parents were middle-class farmers, and hard manual labor was their daily bread. This had a great impression on young Henry. By observing the exhausting work in the fields, he started imagining ways to make farming easier and faster to help his parents. As a little kid, his favorite toys were tools. He would always walk around with his pockets full of chunks of metal of all shapes and sizes. His father did not appreciate his passion for mechanics, and instead pushed him to become a farmer. But in 1875, something changed Henry's life forever. While he was riding on a horse carriage with his family on their way to Detroit, they came across something completely new: a road engine. It was a simple engine with a boiler on wheels, intended mostly for farmers. But it was the first automated vehicle Henry had ever seen in a world where everything was drawn by horses. However, he disliked the weight and the cost of that carriage. He wanted to create a lighter model, and above all, one that any regular farmer could afford, not only wealthy landowners. And that's when the seed was planted in Henry's mind, a seed that would have created an empire that changed the United States. Shortly after, against his father's wishes, he left school at the age of 17, walked his way to Detroit, and became a fully qualified machinist at the machine shop Dry Dock Engine Works. But Ford's revolution did not come without twists and turns. As a young man, Henry was thirsty for knowledge. He purposely took on different jobs so that he could learn what he needed to build the horseless carriage that he envisioned. During this time, he became fascinated with the brand new gasoline engine and started working on several machines all around Detroit, building himself a reputation as a capable engineer. Shortly after, he was made chief engineer at the Edison Illuminating Company of Detroit. At Edison, Henry experimented with electricity, a key element he needed and wanted in order to design his new engine prototype. Thanks to this, after years of attempts and failures, in 1896, he designed and built the quadricycle, basically a two-cylinder gas engine mounted on 4 bicycle wheels, a light vehicle that gave him a lot of notoriety. And this is when he received one of the biggest blows of his career. Henry Ford believed that the internal combustion engine was the future, but Edison's president did not appreciate nor approve of his interest in the gas engine. Having to decide between his high-profile job and his dream, in 1899, Ford decided to resign from his job. But that was not the worst part. In that same year, determined to create his own company, Henry sold the quadricycle, gathered a number of wealthy investors that were impressed by his capabilities, and founded the Detroit Automobile Company. However, his partners quickly became dissatisfied with Ford's perfectionism and lack of results. They were in the car business to make money, while Ford kept experimenting and barely produced any vehicle at all. So, in 1902, they forced him out of his own company. And interestingly enough, that company one day would become the Cadillac Company. It was at his lowest point, right when he was kicked out, that Ford reminded himself of the dream he had. He believed that the future will be made of cars, and that one day every regular person will need one. In fact, cars back then were nothing more than expensive toys that only wealthy individuals could afford. And as a matter of fact, the vast majority doubted that cars were of any use at all. Nobody demanded cars, and nobody even needed them. But he was aware that nobody ever needs something new. But once you show it to them, they'll never be able to live without it. And that's the definition of a revolution. Thanks to this awareness, in 1903, with just $28,000, he founded the Ford Motor Company. Right after establishing the company, Ford put all his conviction and hard work into producing his first models, the Model A, 1903, and a few years later, the more affordable Model T, 1908. It was an immediate success, especially the Model T, which became one of the best-selling cars of all time. But that wasn't enough for him, because only a few models could be assembled per day, and in Ford's opinion, they were still too expensive. He wanted to give a car to every American family. So one day, he came to observe the workers at the Chicago meatpacking factory and the way they dressed and packed beef, each man with a specific task. He was struck by it and envisioned a completely new philosophy for his production process. So instead of having engineers that were versatile and skilled in many different departments, a sort of jack of all trades, he decided to have each one of them specializing in only a single operation. He created a division of labor that allowed him to enormously increase his production numbers while reducing the cost. And in 1913, this marked the birth of the assembly line. It transformed the country. Suddenly, cars were affordable and America became motorized. Millions of farmers were not isolated in distant surroundings anymore. They were able to move rapidly, causing a shift in society and geography. Cities and rural areas changed forever. But while Ford was now able to employ tens of thousands of people, the turnaround for the workers was exhausting, and the work extremely monotonous. To address this problem, Henry decided to double the pay for his employees, bringing it to $5 per day. This was all over the newspapers, and the day after this major announcement, more than 10,000 people lined up outside his employment office. And with this move, he also ensured that his workers could afford the cars they were making. In the following decades, the Ford Motor Company remained one of the main car manufacturers in the world. And this year, it was nominated by Forbes as the Automaker Company of the Year. But probably the key to Henry Ford's success was curiosity for the future. And that's how he built his dream world of horseless carriages.